The world is going to end, and someone from the apocalyptic future has come back in time to prevent it. This is a plot which has spawned dozens, if not more, of movies and shows. So, when a show boldly uses this same plot twice, what can we say?
We brought the end of the world back here with us.
Oh my god, again?
Hello, Namaskar, welcome, Swagatam. The Umbrella Academy has returned on Netflix with a banging second season. The first season was decent but not good enough to warrant a repeat viewing before the release of second season. And as you may understand, the moment I realized that the main plot driver this season was the same, impending doom and end of the world scenario, well, I was disappointed to say the least. The Umbrella Academy is based on the comic book series by Gerard Way and Gabriel Ba. The Netflix series based its first season on the first volume of the comic book series named Apocalypse Suite. The second volume, named Dallas, is the inspiration behind this second season. The first thing that comes to mind when talking about the Umbrella Academy is how much of it is a hodgepodge and a medley of so many existing comic book stories. The basic premise of the story is that an eccentric millionaire scientist adopts 7 newborn children and raises them with an iron fist of discipline and training to mold them into a superhero team. Now, the superhero team dynamic is something we are all familiar with. Each person having his or her own personality as a baggage carrying one's own individual powers. So there is a lot of ego and clashes. Putting a controlling father figure in this mix gives you the expected dynamics like in the X-Men world. The character of Vanya is more or less similar to the Jean Grey in the Phoenix Saga. At least it was in the first season. She is too powerful, so the father figure suppresses her powers in some way. Then there is the distinct similarity of the Umbrella Academy with Watchmen the movie and The Travelers the series. I mean, the story is unique, but there is always a hint of deja vu, as in you will feel that you have seen this part of the story somewhere before. Time travel to the past is a confusing concept to realize on screen in any occasion. So when the season leans heavily on the various aspects of time travel, meaning how it so predictably causes more problems than it solves, well, this is nothing original. All this to say that I was not keen on liking this second season, which brings me to my surprise when the season actually turned out good. The beginning apart, as the season progressed, in fact, I really enjoyed it. Let me start from the beginning. The last season left us on the brink of an apocalypse when number 5 traveled in time with all the others. This season started with a new complication of time travel, all the travelers scattered across time, although at the same place. So we get the settings of the 60s with the civil unrest and the looming assassination of President Kennedy. The first episode was the setup of this new apocalypse. Well, it won't be meaningful unless there is a ticking clock. What we are told is that the world is going to end in a nuclear war. I have to say, the brief scene where the Umbrella Academy fought as a team against Russian army was a superb sequence.
What the hell did we do now?
But the point is, even without knowing the story or even without watching the trailers, I knew from the beginning that this sequence was either a dream sequence or something similar of no real consequence. And turns out I was right. Number 5 travels back 10 days and starts off this season's quest of trying to stop this apocalypse.
What was that?
The end of the world, November 25th, 1963.
And where am I now?
Dallas, 10 days earlier.
Number 5's connection to the Kennedy assassination was an important plot element in the first season, and this plays a pivotal role in this season as well.
Everything in our new lives is connected to the plot to assassinate the president.
So that is the repetition part. What is a bit more interesting is that the other siblings, other than 5, have made the 60s their home, having some semblance of a normal life, so to speak. This new life is filled with some nice interactions. While Allison is involved in a social rights movement, Klaus has started a cult. Then there is Luther, who works as the muscle for a powerful person, and Diego, who is playing the hero and getting hell for it. Vanya's life has been turned upside down with no memory of the past, and that brings a lot of heart to the story. She is living with a simple family in a farmhouse, doing chores and taking care of the child. Again, her relationships and her powers are the core of all the main issues and conflicts in this story. There is a surprise character though, whose real self is revealed in the season finale in a really well executed manner. Surprisingly, in this season, even with all the talk about the end of the world, the apocalypse is not the main climax. And that is where this season shines. Yes, there is an event which is supposed to end the world, and the Umbrella Academy do their best to fight the eventuality at different fronts. But that is just one part of the chapter. The whole story is something deeper. Anyway, the element that I dislike the most in this whole story is the commission. I mean, what they do is somewhat vaguely explained, and how they do it is, well, science fiction. But why they do it is, frankly, just a bit of mumbo jumbo. I mean to say, it is one thing to read all the explanations about time manipulations and maintaining the time continuum on a page with colorful panels where the organization is named Temp Eternalis. But to see this on screen with machines and real human beings didn't just click it for me. That's not to say that I wasn't blown away by the fishbowl guy. I understand that the show couldn't just translate the comic book villains into this live action adaptation, because in the comic book the Umbrella Academy mostly dealt with robots and zombies and other comic booky things. They tried to make the story a bit more science fiction type and less the comic book type, and that led to some things which shine and some things which just feel out of place. There is a scene where Vanya's power is unleashed while the others try to stop her. That scene is honestly so long drawn that it loses all the gravitas. Beams of blue-white energy emanating continuously while people do their best to turn it off, well, either keep the sequence short or actually show the damage that is proportional to this energy surge. All that isn't helped by the over-the-top megalomaniacal villain with hardly any real attributes to make her compelling enough to be the main villain. Also, I did say I liked the integration of the main characters in the 60s, but it was unnerving how no one ever mentioned that they missed having a mobile phone or a laptop or anything. Traveling back in time must have some difficult compromises, but none of that was here. It was like these people were born in that time. Exploring that aspect would have given the whole season some more emotional weight, because as it stands, we get that the team is trying to stop an apocalypse, but no one actually seems bothered about being stuck out of their own time. The showrunner Steve Blackman and writer Jeremy Slater have indeed done a beautiful job in creating a self-sufficient universe in this Netflix series. It doesn't matter if you have read the comic books or not. There are many unexplained things in the story throughout. Starting with the fact that what on earth moved Reginald Hargreaves to find and adopt these siblings? How exactly did these children come to be born? I mean, it was a spontaneous delivery, and none of the women who gave birth to these kids had been pregnant up until the labor pains started. Then there is this very obvious foreshadowing issue of the fact that there were 43 children born together, but only 7 were adopted by Hargreaves. It stands to reason that the others will come into play in later seasons. All these have been deliberately answered only in part to keep the suspense going. Some of these issues are partly answered in the second season, others, well, let's see. Back to my original point. The strength of season 2 isn't all the superhero and supervillain stuff, but the human connections and emotions. So even with so many issues, I feel that the second season of Umbrella Academy was definitely an improvement over the first season. And after a cliched and slow start, it was definitely worth a binge. I give the second season of the Umbrella Academy 6.5 thumbs ups out of 10. What do you think? Have you watched the Umbrella Academy yet? And have you read the comics? Honestly speaking, I did not find the comic that interesting. So I'm glad that Netflix actually adapted the main premise and spun a rich sci-fi world around it, instead of just translating the comic book on screen panel by panel. Do let me know your thoughts. As always, I am eagerly looking forward to your feedback and comments. If you liked this review, please do leave a thumbs up and share this video with all your friends. and do subscribe to my channel The Versatile Doctor to stay tuned with me. This is all from my side for today. I'll be back with another review or a video on any other topic. Till then, this is Dr. Abhinav Atul signing off, and it is my pride and privilege to be able to connect with you through this video. Namaskar.